Well, it's that time of the year, the day, the week again, kids. You know it, you love it. We call it the Curtain Call Corner. Well, we kind of do. We're going to come up with a snappy new name. Welcome to Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk right here on the Rock Rage Radio Network. Another new friend from Curtain Call Records, Mr. Daniel Touw. One of the last is the band all the way from New Jersey. Sir, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, man. Um, been interviewing a few bands from New Jersey. I'm getting different sorts of things about, the vibrancy of the scene. Some tell me it's great. Some tell me it's just okay. You're going to tell me what?
Well, the scene in Jersey, I don't know. I mean, my feeling is it's like kind of non-existent, but I guess I could be wrong. Um, I,
Well,
I
I
feel
mean,
like
you
it's
know what?
better in other states.
I
Definitely.
appreciate the honest answer because if somebody was to ask me what the scene was like in my whole hometown, I would tell them it's on life support right now.
Yep.
It's just
Same.
some things going on that I don't think are conducive to a healthy scene. Hopefully that changes. But so I
Mhm.
appreciate your honesty. So where does one of the last? How do you guys survive? Do you get a handful of shows outside of state? How do you guys make this happen?
Well, honestly, we're trying to hit different states at the moment. The past few months, our singer John's just been on the prowl, like reaching out to all these promoters, all these venues, and to say it hasn't been easy is an understatement because it's like our opinion was we're out of state, we've never played here before. We're going to reach out to this venue and maybe hop on a tour or be like a last leg of something, and it's either you got to have a following in their state, you got to bring people, and it's like, well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to play in a market that we've never been before. And then other than that, it's renting out the venue itself. So you have to shell out some money up front and rent the space. And again, how are we going to bring people if we've never been there before? So
Sure.
it's it's a little tricky, but
Although one of the things I will say, if you get a singer motivated, take it and run with it, man, because it doesn't happen too often, right?
uh,
So good on him. So I do like where you're coming from because up here I look at a similar thing. I like to take the venue. I like to be able to have control over ticket sales and where the money goes. However, to your point, sometimes it is hard to get people out for different reasons.
mhm.
Have you found a formula that you think is working maybe a little bit better, or are you still kind of testing the waters?
Yeah, I think we're trying to build that up. We're really trying to build up the social media following,
Yep.
but by directly messaging people and conversating. So that's been working really well. But the next step is just we're trying to hit different markets outside of New Jersey and seeing if we can build up a following that way. West Virginia, Florida, Pennsylvania, anywhere we can play.
Um, so just before we go into one of the last, I don't know if you saw the video that went viral. It was Billy Liebling, the lead singer from Pentagram. He had that look on his face where he was staring the crowd. Did you see that?
No, not
Go
familiar.
find it because it they played in this little old club somewhere. I don't even I interviewed him today, and it's got over 100 million views on YouTube. And the top of a conversation came up is that in this game, you just never know what's going to stick with somebody
Hmm.
as much as you try. Are there things that you guys are, experimenting with, or have you found some things that have maybe worked that you keep going back to in terms of your streams and social media? Because you said you're building it, and
Hmm.
that's good. I think you're always building it. I don't think it never stops.
Hmm. I mean, the one thing that's working is really like directly messaging people and kind of just letting them know like we're not like a bot. We're actually real people. Like if you message us back, we'll respond. But we're reaching out to like music fans directly. We're not just like running an ad saying, find me, males that
Yep.
listen to Breaking Benjamin or Disturbed or whatever, and hoping that they follow us. We're directly following people, reaching out to them. We're not just, using some kind of service.
Yep.
And granted, you'll get a lot of people that don't respond, but then we're getting people that are like, dude, like, I told my friends to follow you, and like oh, I listen to your stuff, and it's amazing. So really directly reaching out to people, I think is kind of like working. It's just a slow burn.
I do know one of the things that I found out early was I went to everybody that um, I could find that was having success in what I was doing, and I just picked their brain.
Mm,
And then what I did was I didn't. color outside of the lines or say, well, I think I'm going to try this because it'll work better. I just did what they did, and
Mhm.
for the most part, it worked for me. So, one of the last. So, tell me about this band. If I was to say to my viewers, check these guys out. They are like, who would I give them as examples?
See, that's kind of hard because I feel like we're a mixture of a few. Not that there's bands out there that aren't like that, but I'd say we're kind of a mixture of like maybe like thrash and like Metallica meets like Breaking Benjamin. Because we have a lot of melodic sections. We have singing, but then we have the heaviness and like the guitar players. Parker, he's heavily influenced by like Pantera and like Megadeth and Metallica. But then you have me, the drummer, who's more into like Breaking Benjamin and Disturbed. Me and John are probably into like the more poppy stuff, but we do delve into like metal and like Lamb of God. So I would say if you're into like mainstream music, whether it's mainstream like rock, so if you're into like that metal and anything that's melodic, I think you're gonna like One of the Last.
A1. So, I didn't know you were the drummer, so that's amazing because I'm the drummer as well. What are you playing for a kit?
I, to be honest, I have a the kit that I play at shows is not really too nice because I don't know how the scene is by you, but in New Jersey, you mostly play on house kits,
Yep.
so there like almost isn't really a need for me to have like a nice drum kit.
Yep.
So I play on just like a standard Pearl export.
Nice.
But most of my playing now is at home, and I play on a custom electronic drum kit that I built myself.
Fantastic. There's never any
Yeah.
shame. I've always been more of a how things sound as opposed to the price tag.
Yeah. A
I've played some absolutely amazing snare drums that were probably,
few
worth
hundred
less than
bucks.
$200, right? Yeah. So no, that's fantastic. So in terms of your recording and how you have been doing that, are you a band that goes right in the studio? You doing a file sharing? How you been putting this together?
So I actually do the recording and the editing of the songs. So the most of the parts are written and practiced by the guitar players. I would say Mario's like the primary songwriter, but Parker definitely puts a lot of his emphasis on that too, and a lot of songs come from him. So they settle on the guitar parts. I'll throw in the drums, and then usually the way it works is John and I will get together and kind of work on some melodies and kind of like produce the songs itself. At least the later stuff, we kind of just like stuck to a key and like kind of used a piano roll to come up with a melody, and then he'd write lyrics to that, and maybe he'd go home and come back and be like, we got something better. Let's throw this on here, and it's kind of like a collaborative effort. And then after the stuff's recorded and like some of the initial batches of stuff, as of recent, I've done the mixing and everything, but we'll most of the time just record this stuff and send it out to be mixed. Most recently, from the guitar player from Ice Nine Kills did the
Huh,
mixing.
nice. And I didn't want to geek out too much on that, but the comments that I've been getting from my viewers is that every curtain call artist that I've featured, the production is top notch, right? So,
Mm.
and I mean, I always say that's I guess a testament to curtain call because they're not going to take something that sounds like it was recorded on an old ghetto blaster, as they used to call it back in the day. But I mean, it says something that all their bands are savvy enough to find ways to get themselves produced in a proper manner to be heard
Mm-hmm.
on a world class sort of format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I'm that type of person that I kind of want to do it myself,
Yep.
but I also want it to sound exactly like the songs I listen to. So, I mean, my first batch of stuff obviously is not going to sound like that, but I won't stop until I get it as close as possible. you know.
Well, I'm very fortunate because I mean I'm going pointing over here, but I get a set of TD-50s that I record some stuff on if I'm doing like recently it's weird people want stuff for video games and what have you, right?
Uh,
Um, but I've got a friend that he's a drummer, he's a country drummer, but he records on my drum tracks and it's just like cannons, man. It's you know what I mean. It's
mhm.
nice to hear real drums because a lot of people aren't using real drums right now.
Yeah,
That's
we don't we don't use
pardon.
real drums.
Yeah, well, look, I did
Yeah.
a track for a guy. It was a country song, oddly enough, and we sent him the drums over, and he was like, "Oh my God, the kicks bleed into the snare mic," and it's like that's how drums are recorded. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Now
No,
there
I
is a
mean,
program. But there's a program that you can get now that you can scrub all that stuff out.
Yeah.
Which is
I have to say though, like the way I've learned to record and mix, the drums themselves might not be real, but I treat them like real drums. So
yeah,
I purposely, just for practice, will leave like the superior drummer bleed in there
yeah,
and use the normal practices of removing the bleed myself, or like obviously as much as I can without it being unnatural.
sure.
But that's what I think makes the production sound as good, because I'm not just like using the stock plugins or whatever. I'm actually using what you would normally do if I went to a studio. But obviously it's a lot easier without having to mic it up myself and making sure everything's like equidistant.
Well, and I'm a big believer like this nonsense. I'm gonna throw Eddie Trunk under the bus for a second because what he big fan of Kiss, but Eddie in the backing tracks thing. And I mean, the simple fact of the matter is that that's life as we know it now, right? I mean, like if you're playing live, you're maybe have some backing tracks. I play to a click live. You're controlling lights off. You're controlling production, and I don't think that there's any shame if you're using. I don't even want to use the term fake drums, but if you're using drums such as that, who cares, man? You're looking for the best sound that you can get, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love him, but I have a really big problem with Rick Beato and his belief on like using the click and quantizing, because obviously I'm a drummer myself, and
Yeah.
I've always played to a click. Particularly in marching band, like that's all you do is practice for like a few hours with this thing dinging in your ear, like
Yep.
So, and then when I listen to the bands I listen to, I'm like, listen, like they might quantize my playing, but I've always played to a click. And like I'm a drummer myself, and when I listen to these bands, I'm like, I don't think there's any feeling removed from it at all.
Well, it all
like
depends what the vibe is, though, right? Because
yeah,
like, my guitar player worked with Theory of a Dead Man for like 3 years, and they're all. I mean, it's
yeah,
right on, right? And I mean, that's what they're going for. Does it sound robotic? No, it does not. And if we're going to talk about Mr. Beato for a second, I mean, like I get the kind of rub. You know, people want to hear what Rick Beato says. Everything that he says, I don't think is bang on. And that point, thank you for bringing that up. If you take some classic albums from the '70s, man, they're not quantized,
yeah.
right? And Highway Star by Purple. If you go and listen to that isolated drum track, there's some flubs in there that make that song what it is. So I mean, yeah good point. So how you been getting your singles out? Have you guys been putting singles out? Is the goal to kind of the popular thing now is obviously the waterfall release. People's attention spans are so crappy. Have you guys been doing it?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do, is get the singles out and add them, eventually to an EP or an album. I mean, yeah, I think it sucks. I'd rather, like, I think there's that intent. There used to be, at least for me, like that anticipation of like, like Lamb of God just released this single and it's like amazing.
Yep.
I can't wait to hear the new album. But like the perfect example for like this new way is this band Memphis May Fire. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
I haven't heard them, but I've heard of them.
Not their recent album, but and they might have did it with this. But the previous album, they literally released every song on Spotify, like at least 90% of them, and then all of them were added to an album. So I don't know. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I ate it up. I listened to all the songs, and most of them were pretty good. But it's just like you go onto Spotify and you have all these singles, and then you have them all added to like the EP, and then now they're on the album, and you're like, this is nuts. But I feel like for Spotify, that's kind of what you have to do nowadays, is have like multiple releases frequently, just in order to get on playlists and get people to see it.
Yeah,
just terrible.
That game is and I play it every day because I promote a number of artists outside of what I do, and that game is set up for guys like you and me to not do well. And the way that we got to do it is we got to hustle and basically frig them up. And I've been talking to some people that have been coming up with wonderful new ways to do it. And so I mean, you got to play that game. The one thing I think Spotify has taken away, in my opinion, is an album comes out, you hear the hits on the radio, but then you find a cut that it was like, wow. And it ends up becoming one of your favorite cuts, and Spotify kind of takes that away because you don't go looking for that music unless it comes at you.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing I hate about Spotify is they purposely play the same songs that you've listened to, because I think their opinion is we don't want to give you a song that you're not going to like and then make you get off our platform.
Yep.
But for me, it's like I've listened to this song for the past 5 months. I'm going on your radio section to hear a different song. Like I'm not coming on here to hear the same song I've been listening to. Like I just hate that. I really wish we had something that was like, oh, you like Disturbed? Like, well, what if you had this other band like that our algorithm identified that has like similar elements to Disturb, like melodic, heavy. There's singing, there's not screaming, or like Lamb of God, where it's like it's like there's blues elements, but it's heavy, and like it's just no. It's like you've been listening to that Lamb of God song. We're just gonna feed that to you, and then maybe sprinkle a song you might like here and there, but that's it.
But you know what, Daniel? They don't want your opinion. They
Yeah, I
want
know.
you. They want you to just go ugh, and they want you to hit and they just want to force feed you stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found, and there's a guy that I did an interview with, and he came up with something, and I'm like, there's no way this will work. And he told me, he said TikTok is a good example. If you do a post and you do the same post every 2 hours, but you just change, so it's a post of say your new song coming out, and you put a reel, but every 2 hours you change the hashtags and you change the message and you redo it. He
Hmm.
said it jams up the algorithms, and I'm like, BS. And then I started doing it, and I was getting 7, 8, 9,000 views a day on
Hmm.
reels, and that spills over to the other socials because people go looking for you. So,
Dang.
so what are your plans? I mean, thankfully the warm weather. I don't know what your weather's like down here, but we're still. I was in Cuba last week where it was amazing, and I come back and it's snowing a little bit today. What are your plans for the summer?
So yeah, we're playing a few shows out of state. We're hoping to release to work on another single and music video, and yeah, we have a few more songs to release. So we're hoping to finish those, get them mixed and master, do some videos and content, and then play out of state.
Give a shout out to the fellows in the band along with yourself.
So we have John, he's the lead singer. We have Mario, who's the guitar player. Parker, the guitar player. And then yeah, just for right now, me. We're looking for another bass player, but other than that, that's the members we have now.
It's like we rehearse this. Why is it always bass players? Why is it always bass players?
Yeah.
Where do I send my viewers and my listeners to find you guys and start streaming your material?
All right. So yeah, most of our socials are just either One of the Last Music or One of the Last Band. Yeah, search for us, and then yeah, listen to our new music video and new single, "Sands of Time." We have that on YouTube.
Love it. Sands of time. Daniel Touw, thank you so much for being here, my friend, and best of luck going forward.
Yeah, you too.
We are back on the Rock Ridge Radio Network after this.